Welcome to the ggChronicle Champion Select. My name is Optimus Tom, and this week we'll be taking a look at Draven, the Glorious Executioner. Draven is a uniquely aggressive AD carry champion. His core mechanic lies within throwing and catching his axes upon attacking, rewarding him with things such as bonus damage or cooldown reduction. The definition of smug as well as squishy makes sure the league's own Duke Nukem is safe with the support in the bottom lane. Although frail, Draven packs quite a mighty punch. Or actually, it's Draven. His passive is called Wicked Blades. Draven's critical strike is going to deal bonus physical damage over time. His spinning axe skill will also cause this effect even if the blade does not critically strike. Speaking of, spinning axe is his Q spell. Draven's next attack will deal bonus physical damage. This axe will then ricochet off the target high up into the air. If Draven catches it, he automatically readies another spinning axe. Draven can have up to 2 spinning axes at once, meaning he can deal a lot of damage this way. Blood Rush is Draven's W. Draven will gain increased movement speed and attack speed. The movement speed bonus decreases rapidly over its duration, but catching a spinning axe will refresh the cooldown on Blood Rush, allowing you to spam it in chases. Stand Aside is Draven's E. Draven will throw his axes, dealing physical damage to the target's hit and knocking them aside. Targets hit are also slowed. And his ultimate spell is Whirling Death, and I'm pretty excited about this because we haven't seen a global ultimate on a ranged AD carry since Ezreal. Draven hurls 2 massive axes to deal physical damage to each unit struck. Whirling Death slowly reverses direction and returns to Draven after striking an enemy champion. Draven may also activate this ability while the axes are in flight to cause it to return early. It'll deal less damage for each unit hit and reset when the axes reverse direction. As far as my masteries go for Draven, I'm staying a little close to what range carries usually do. Although, considering Draven can play very aggressive, I am putting the 9 extra points into defense instead of utility in this case. The 21 points on offense give me all the damage, lifesteal, and more damage capabilities, and the defensive points allow for more HP and armor for the bottom lane survival in the aggressive early game shenanigans I hope to pull off. I can also take a point out of my Summoner's Resolve and put it into resistance if I want to get a little bit more in my magic resist. However, I'm going to be taking Summoner's Resolve because I take the Cleanse spell. Speaking of, Cleanse and Flash are the 2 summoner spells I'm going to be taking on Draven. Flash is pretty much a no-brainer at this point on ranged AD carries. Not only will it allow you to get out of sticky situations, such as flashing over walls or flashing away from aggressive enemies, but you could also use it offensively to chase people. Cleanse is a skill that's going to be very, very useful because of how aggressive Draven can be. A lot of support characters in the bottom lane have some sort of crowd control spell, and Cleanse is going to remove this. Because Draven can be very squishy and it is easy to get caught out of position, Cleanse can be used defensively to keep yourself alive, or while chasing someone down while using Blood Rush and your spinning axis spell, Cleanse will keep the chase alive and secure that kill that you definitely want to go after. For my runes, I'm keeping it pretty standard with Draven. I'm going to be taking flat damage marks and quintessences, equaling up to 15 bonus physical damage at level 1. Flat armor and flat magic resistance seals and glyphs round out the rest of the build because I want to be aggressive early. You can opt to choose for magic resist per level glyphs, however you are going to be weaker to magic damage, which is what support characters will normally be dealing to with 1 or 2 of their spells in the bottom lane at very, very early levels. However, this will let Draven be a little bit more effective and have a little bit more magic resistance towards the later stages of the game. Taking a quick look at our skill set, I am going to be maxing out spinning axes first because it is the most damaging ability on Draven. If I catch them and keep throwing them, I'm going to only be dealing more and more damage when I chase. I like to play aggressive with Draven on the bottom lane, so Blood Rush will be the second skill I'm maxing out. I actually get it at level 2 to be aggressive as possible early out of the gate. Ultimates will be picked up at level 6 and 11 and 16 as always, while rounding out Stand Aside as soon as I can at level 18. This makes for a very, very aggressive AD champion in the bottom lane, and he pairs very, very well with champions such as Alistar, Nautilus, or even Blitzcrank. My item build, I'm keeping it pretty simple as well. Boots and 3 health potions out of the get-go, so I have survivability, mobility, and pretty much anything an AD carry is going to need except for damage, which is why I like to move on to double Doran's Blade for a little bit of damage and HP, considering Draven is a squishy AD carry in the bottom lane, and a Vampiric Scepter for sustain. Rounding out my build, I'm going to be going for an Infinity Edge, Phantom Dancer, and Last Whisper, opting to get a Bloodthirster too out of that Vampiric Scepter if it really reaches the late game. However, if you really want to stay canon, don't be afraid to get a Black Cleaver on Draven. You know, it's kind of cheesy, but it does work. It adds damage, and it adds attack speed, as well as reducing your opponent's armor, which could be effective, but I kind of like to keep it simple, ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I go into this game footage, I really just want to point out a little thing here that a lot of people in blind pick are going to assume that Draven can win games solo. So expect a lot of what you see on the screen right now. Someone's going to say, we need a support character. Someone else will say, nah, we got Draven, that's fine. And then lock in Lux. Now, this actually, it's interesting because I've gotten so many Morgana and Lux and Master Yi supports when I was playing Draven. It was really hard to get you guys any serious footage. However, aggressive supports work extremely well with Draven because of his high burst of damage and attack speed and movement speed bonuses. So actually, by taking Lux in this case, my ally was setting me up for potentially one of the better lanes I could have. Lux does have a shield which he can give to Draven to prevent him from taking a lot of damage, and if you use this, including her light binding, together very, very effectively, it's actually a pretty strong lane for Draven. Getting into a little bit of gameplay here, you can see that early on, out of the get-go, you can be aggressive. However, if you're too aggressive, you're going to wind up paying for it. You can see here that we were waiting in the bush at level 1 to try to bait out the enemy Draven. However, they were waiting in the bush opposite from us to apply a lot more pressure onto us. So you have to be very, very careful. Being aggressive is fine, but you don't want to be too aggressive because, well, then you're forced back to your tower at level 1, and it becomes extremely, extremely hard for you to farm. Aggression can be very, very good on Draven, as I've been saying, though. Even though my support here falls, she was able to bind the enemy Draven in my tower range, which allows me to chase by constantly catching axes and activating Blood Rush. You have to make sure to activate your Blood Rush because it is super, super important in these chases. The enemy Draven does not, and I'm able to get off enough attacks to let my passive pick up a kill. Aggressively flashing in while blowing cleanse on Lulu's polymorph spell, I'm actually able to pick up a double kill, which is very, very, very good, especially at this early stage of the game. Ain't no whimsy strong enough to stop Draven. If you haven't seen already, I'm trying to drive the point home about being aggressive on Draven. The thing is, passive farming like this looks like it could be very fun and effective, but it really isn't. You need a very good balance of not only farming and catching your axes, but harassing your opponent with it too. Draven's passive, Wicked Blades, applies a damage over time dot. So this is very, very effective if you are already throwing spinning blades. This means that the passive will automatically proc, and you'll be doing harassment while last hitting. Do keep in mind, though, that if you are throwing these spinning axes and going to be dealing this passive damage over time, it will draw tower aggro. So be very, very careful about how close to the enemy's turret you're going when you're trying to harass with Draven. Just another point to drive home, you have to be very careful about your aggressive play and where you want to go when catching your axes. I try to be aggressive and then start to run away after the enemy Draven comes at me while her Lulu is very, very low. I run into the enemy Lux from the other lane, not knowing that she was missing and not having proper ward coverage. Draven is a character that may bait out bad play like this, so please be very, very careful when you're deciding to chase after axes, engage, or disengage, because it could wind up being the death of you. There is a lot we want to talk about Draven in the early game. However, once he gets to the late game, he is still a ranged carry. So work with your team. Draven does best when not in harm's way or with someone to protect him while he wildly throws his axes. We see an engage as Ahri comes down from the middle this time to gank our own lane. Flashing over the wall, I'm going to be chasing down Lux when I run into the enemy Lulu. Getting whimsied, I save my cleanse just in case because I don't think I'm going to be dying anytime soon. I do, however, blow the cleanse when Lux resets in place to try to dodge the laser to make sure I don't die. Hiding in a corner while my team engages the enemy Hecarim, we're able to have Lux flash over the wall to root them in place perfectly. Picking up a kill on Lux, I then use all of my spells while chasing down Hecarim, getting excellent shielding from my support character to pick up a double kill while staying towards the back of the fight for the majority of the time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, even when your support character builds double Doran's Ring into Medjai's Soul Stealer, as long as you're playing Draven and throwing those axes like a pro, you'll be A-OK to carry your team to a victory. Once again, thank you for tuning in to the ggChronicle Champion Select. Make sure you also check out Obscurica's article over on ggChronicle.com, your #1 destination for anything League of Legends.